Some moments start out completely ordinary. Just another car ride, just another evening. Nothing unusual. But sometimes one sentence, one unexpected moment, can shift everything. That night was supposed to be simple. My husband, Walter, had to stay late at the office. He called and said, "Daniel's heading your way, he can give you a lift home." Daniel. His colleague. The man I'd only ever exchanged polite nods with at company dinners. The man in the neatly pressed suits, hair always combed perfectly to the side. Quiet. Professional. Reserved. I hesitated for a second. But then I said, "Okay. Before I dive in, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from?" I love seeing all the cities and countries where these stories end up. It makes me realize how far a single moment can travel. Now, let me take you back. My name is Lexi. I'm 30 years old. Walter and I have been married for 4 of those years. Almost 4 decades. Together we built a life of stability, mutual respect, routines we could almost run on autopilot. Every morning we have strong coffee and tackle a crossword puzzle together. Every evening we eat dinner in front of the TV, usually something simple. Also, if you want to chat with me or are interested in exclusive content, you can't find that in the comments. Now, let's continue the story. It's not passionless. But after so many years, things soften. You stop expecting surprises. You stop expecting someone to see you the way they once did. And that's okay. That's life. Or at least, that's what I thought. So when Daniel pulled up in his sleek silver sedan and stepped out to open the passenger door for me, I froze for a second. Such a small thing, right? But it's been years since someone opened a door for me. Not out of obligation. Not out of habit. Just thoughtfulness. I slipped into the car, the faint scent of cedarwood and cologne surrounding me. The leather was cool, the car spotless, like it had never seen a gravel road. Soft jazz played on the radio, low, smooth, relaxing. "Mrs. Gardner," he said politely. I smiled, settling in. "Please, just Marlene." And we began driving. At first, it was nothing special. The weather. Traffic. Errands. But then Daniel surprised me. He said, "I saw you once. In the bookstore downtown. You were in the corner with a paperback and a latte. You looked peaceful." Peaceful. I blinked, caught off guard. No one had said that to me in years. The last time anyone used a word like that about me was when my children were small. Walter would sometimes glance at me watching them play and say, "You look content." But kids grow up. Life shifts. Words like that fade away. And suddenly, sitting there in that car, hearing peaceful again, it reached somewhere deep inside me. Somewhere I thought had gone quiet. We kept talking. I found myself telling him about my garden. About the jasmine I'd just planted. How I hoped it would climb the trellis by fall. "I like jasmine," he said. "It doesn't scream for attention. It just shows up. Quietly beautiful." I turned my head and studied him for a moment. Who says things like that anymore? The car fell into silence. But it wasn't awkward. It was calm. Still. The kind of silence that doesn't need filling. When we finally pulled onto my street, he parked and looked at me. His expression was thoughtful, steady. "I hope this doesn't sound strange," he said, "but Walter talks about you all the time. He describes you like the structure of his life, strong, dependable, the beam holding everything together." And I see that. But sitting here with you now, you're not just structure, Marlene. You're sunlight. Sunlight. I didn't know how to respond. My breath caught. My hands folded tightly in my lap. No one had spoken to me like that in decades. Not with reverence. Not with attention. I managed a quiet, "That's kind of you." He gave a small smile. "It's true." And then, as I stepped out of the car, he added one last thing. "Jasmine will suit you." And he drove away. I stood there on the sidewalk for a long moment. The groceries heavy in my hands. The air still warm from the day. And yet, I felt something shift. Not just in the air, but inside me. That night, the house felt quieter than usual. I unpacked the groceries on autopilot. I rinsed grapes. Placed bread on the counter. But my mind was still in that car. Wrapped in Daniel's words. "You're not just structure. You're sunlight." Later, Walter came home. He kissed my cheek, dropped his briefcase by the door, asked if I wanted dinner. I told him I wasn't very hungry and made him a sandwich. We sat together, a documentary murmuring in the background, until he fell asleep on the couch. I looked at him, this man I'd shared my life with for so long, and felt both love and guilt. Because part of me couldn't shake the way Daniel had seen me. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying his words. A few days later, Walter and I attended a company charity event. A formal dinner. I pulled out a deep green dress I hadn't worn in years. When I walked downstairs, Walter looked up and gave a quick whistle. "Don't you look lovely?" he said. I thanked him. But in my heart, I knew I wasn't dressing for him. Not entirely. At the event, I chatted with other spouses about grandchildren, vacations, everyday things. But I couldn't help it, my eyes kept scanning the room. And then I saw him. Daniel. Standing by the bar, red wine in hand. Composed, steady. When his gaze found mine, he smiled. Not wide. Just enough. I excused myself and stepped out to the terrace, needing air. The night was cool, the ballroom lights spilling softly onto the lawn. Moments later, the door opened. "You clean up well, Marlene," he said gently, joining me. I laughed softly. "I clean up occasionally. Most days it's just jeans and gardening gloves." "And yet you still manage to look elegant," he replied, his eyes holding mine. I turned away, flustered. "You're good at saying things women don't expect to hear." He was quiet for a beat, then said, "I don't say them to surprise. I say them because they're true." Something in his tone made me pause. The world seemed to narrow to just the two of us. His gaze didn't just see me, it understood me. And then, the moment shattered. "Marlene," Walter's voice called, stepping out with a champagne flute in hand. He placed a hand on my back. "There you are." "Oh, Daniel. Didn't see you out here." Daniel straightened. "Just getting some air." Walter chuckled. "Tell me about it." "They're serving dessert. Shall we?" I nodded quickly, my heart beating faster than I wanted to admit. As Walter led me back inside, I glanced over my shoulder. Daniel was still there, standing quietly, looking at the stars. That night, I lay awake again. Not because Daniel had said anything inappropriate, but because he had reminded me of something I hadn't felt in years, alive. A week later, Walter left for a 2-day business trip. That night, I saw Daniel again, by accident or maybe fate. He was sitting in a small cafe next to the grocery store, laptop open, tea in hand. Before I could stop myself, I walked in. He looked surprised, but smiled warmly. "Marlene, please join me." I sat across from him, ordered tea, and for a while, we just talked. About books. About stories of people rediscovering themselves after years of living safely, quietly. "I think a lot of women my age can relate to that," I said without thinking. "When your life is so much about others, you forget how to be, just you." He studied me. Maybe that's true for more than just women. His gaze was steady, honest. No pressure. Just truth. I hesitated, then asked, "Daniel, what do you see in me?" He leaned back, thoughtful. "I see someone who has given so much. Someone steady. Loyal. Kind. But I also see someone who's forgotten she's magnetic. Intuitive. Beautiful." That word, beautiful, landed like a stone in my chest. Tears stung at my eyes. "That's dangerous talk," I whispered. He didn't flinch. "Only if it isn't true." I stood quickly, overwhelmed. "I should go." He rose too, his expression gentle. "Marlene, I'm not trying to complicate your life. I just think you're worth being seen." I nodded once, unable to speak, and left. The next evening, as I was tending to my garden, a car pulled up. "Daniel." He stepped out, empty-handed, his face unsure. "I wasn't going to come," he admitted. "But I've been thinking about you. About our conversations. About how you looked that night. And I needed to say this. I don't expect anything. I know your life is real, and I respect it. But what I saw in you, that vibrancy, that curiosity, that wasn't imagined." My throat tightened. "Daniel," I said softly, "you reminded me of something I buried a long time ago. Not the need for someone new. The need for myself. For my own reflection. For that, I'm grateful." His shoulders dropped slightly. So, this is goodbye? Not with bitterness, I said. But yes, it has to be. He nodded slowly, then gave me a final look. Your sunlight, Marlene. Even on cloudy days. And with that, he got into his car and drove away. I stood there long after the sound faded. The jasmine vines trembled in the breeze beside me. I never told Walter about Daniel. Because this wasn't about infidelity. It wasn't about temptation. It was about recognition. About someone holding up a mirror at the right moment and reminding me I was still whole. Still alive. Still worth curiosity. In the weeks that followed, I changed not for Daniel, but for me. I started walking every morning. Wore colors I hadn't in years. Reached out to old friends. Picked up painting again. Walter noticed. One evening, over dinner, he looked at me differently. What's gotten into you lately? He asked, smiling. I smiled back. I think I just remembered a few things I'd forgotten about myself. And in that moment, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Something familiar. Something new. Life didn't transform overnight. We didn't travel the world or sell the house. But warmth returned to our home. A softness. A spark. And sometimes, when I walk past the jasmine vine, I stop. I brush my fingers over its blossoms and remember not Daniel himself, but what he reminded me. That I was never just structure. I was always sunlight.